Welcome to Fostering Blooms, the podcast where we dig deep into gardening and all the ways it can enrich your home and life.
Together, we'll explore every aspect of gardening the organic way, keeping it simple, accessible, and fun.
Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just getting your hands in the dirt, we're here to share the tips and insights you need to grow something truly special. I'm Shannon Foster-Bolin.
And I'm Caitlyn Blum, and we're two friends on a mission to cultivate beauty, creativity, and connection through everything we grow.
This is Fostering Blooms. I am so excited to talk about pollinators today.
Save the bees. Save the pollinators.
So many things. Well, the first thing we should talk about really is what is a pollinator, because it can be a lot of things, and some of them we don't like wasps.
I literally just thought of that.
Yeah.
I was like, they pollinate too, but they can hurt you.
I mean, it's really a balance with some of these guys, but there are a lot of different pollinators. And I also consider things like hummingbirds as well, because they're going from flower to flower. So hummingbirds, butterflies, bees, little tiny parasitic wasps, even flies, the common house fly, as much as I don't like them, they are pollinators. So we're going to talk today about creating a space and bringing plants into your garden that are great for pollinators. So
basically, another good way to preface it for pollinators is anything that brings pollen from one plant to another, whether we like them or not.
Exactly. And you kind of have to accept when you bring in plants for pollinators that you don't just get to handpick, I just want little bumblebees. Or
only you're welcome
only you
in my
come.
pollinator garden.
And by the way, when you do butterflies, you get caterpillars, which means they're going to eat some things too.
That's right.
But, again, I like to plant, so there's enough for hopefully all of us. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about this because there are a lot of native plants that are great for pollinators. One of the first opportunities I saw when I moved to Hilltop was that so many of the plants here were commercial and basic, and there weren't a lot of things for pollinate. What?
You had basic bitch plants. Sorry.
Yeah.
Some people just want to fill the space with things, so that's fine.
That's just not your jam. No, they had landscape architects do it. And they did a lot of things that I think were fine, meaning the architects, not the owners. I mean, the owners are relying on landscape architects. Yeah. Landscape architects aren't coming in with a designer's eye, or they're not coming in to say, how can we make this a pollinator-friendly garden? I guess the myth is that maybe you have to have just a native flower garden to get a lot of pollinators. We're going to talk today about plants that are great for pollinators all year round, including winter.
Yeah.
So I am excited. Okay, let's get going. Spring to early summer bloomers. I'm going to go ahead and list these, and then I'm going to tell you little anecdotes about a few of them. So sage, just your typical sage that you use in cooking, sage officinalis, chives, thyme, catmint, salvia, and lavender. Let's go back through a couple of these. Right now, my sage is blooming, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
It's so pretty.
Big, huge, long purple blooms. It looks exactly like the perennial salvia nemorosa that we use, just bigger. And it's probably one of the plants I neglect literally the most.
It's a hardy sucker.
Very hardy. I have it in a planter box out in front of my house. I hardly ever water it. It's survived now for 2.5 years. I have it out back by the veg garden, so it just gets whatever water comes when it comes, and it's doing great. The pollinators are loving it, and I do plant that one specifically by the vegetable garden for that reason, because we get a little bit of a gap in the year right now in April. And then I have chives that I absolutely adore. They live through the winter. Get those nice purple little flowers.
I know, little fuzzy things, little bees on them. Are so cute.
So cute. So I dug up part of a clump that I've had here now for 3 years. Chives and thyme were the two herbs that I planted first. And I just threw it in the ground next to a rose in the fall, and it's already 3 times the size and blooming.
So well.
I know, it's just a really hardy plant. Thyme, I love, of course, it does get blooms on it, but I use it mainly for cooking throughout the year. And it blooms fairly early, like right now it's in bloom. It has been in bloom for a few weeks, so it's a good early spring. Then salvia, of course, and lavender for mid-spring to early summer. Well, salvia will go most of the year, and then lavender. I think those are all really beautiful plants. They're all really hardy. The only one on here that for me is tricky to grow is lavender. Can be a little challenging in our climate. in zone
Agreed.
7B.
We're going to figure that out this year. I took some cuttings from a friend's, I think it's a woolly lavender. It has a little bit fuzzier leaves instead of those sleek, softer ones. I'm doing propagations that I'm hoping we'll see what happens, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah, my problem is I have like a 50% success rate with it. And I think I'm making it harder than it needs to be sometimes. My plan this year is that I'm just going to plant it high. I'm going to get really small starts so that I don't have as big a financial loss if I lose a bigger plant. There's a place down the road where you can get kind of a small like herb pot size for like $4. I'm going to get a lot of them, and I'm going to make bigger holes. I'm going to amend the soil with just basically some topsoil and chicken grit, and then some of the native clay because I want the roots to be able to go into the clay at some point and plant it high and
cross your fingers and all your toes.
Yeah, mulch it with some limestone and see what happens.
Yeah, or rock. I've seen that too, is people just putting rock on the surface. Really just needs to stay dry. I planted a Spanish lavender in a pot, and I only water the front of the pot that has geraniums and the Silver Falls plant, but I do not water the lavender, and it's doing great. I think that's a really big key, is I'm resisting the urge to water it.
To really get it soggy. I have some lavender in pots out front, and I just let natural rainfall take care of it, and they do fine. So it's really the free draining soil, especially lavender, which is why catmint on here, I didn't go into it a lot, because if you want to know more about it, we have a whole podcast episode on catmint and hardy geraniums. I am propagating some catmint right now.
Really? And it's a lavendery look-alike.
Exactly. And I'm propagating some salvia to see how that goes. If I fail with the lavender, it's going to be a hill of catmint.
That's okay. That's just as beautiful.
Fantastic, actually, because I love it. I probably should just start with it, but
There you go.
I love the scent of lavender, and I want to be able to make my own little sachets and stuff.
Yeah. We're gonna figure out the lavender. So I have one little titty to add on here, and it's dandelions. And no, we're not growing dandelions, although people do tons of stuff with them. We were getting our lawn cut for the first time this season, and I said to Sierra, oh God, they're gonna cut away all those damn dandelions. She's like, well, we should probably wait because there is sparse flowers out there for the bees, and it's one of the only things they have right now.
Wait, what?
She said that to me. I said, oh, honey, that's so precious. You're trying to save the bees.
That's so sweet. But it's true.
It put a really good perspective. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want them out there. I don't want all their little dandelion pluffs going all over the place. But the bees didn't have anything. Nothing was blooming at the time. So something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's a balance, and you just kind of decide.
It's nature. Like, they're taking away one of their only food sources at that time in very early spring. Probably dandelions was all they had. So if you can wait to cut your lawn and you're okay with it, you're helping out those little babies.
I'm always going to talk about the UK on every single podcast. I feel like I do.
It's okay.
But they do have no mow May, and it's like a whole thing. Their gardening community is trying to create a movement where they just let their lawns grow longer so the pollinators can get fed. Now, one thing to think about is that most of that country is definitely behind us in terms of warmth. But probably for us would be
no mow April.
No mow April in zone 7B.
We could definitely get Americans to do that. Perfect lawns. That's the thing, is we have a shitty ass lawn. I'll tell you that, with dandelions, weeds, like, it's sad. I just don't really care. We've tried to seed it, but I don't really care about the lawn.
It would be weird though with your, you have the pastoral vibe.
Yeah.
It matches what you're doing. And the problem is, for a lot of people that do want to leave dandelions or maybe not mow their lawn, if you live in a community with an HOA, you can only do that for so long.
That's true.
I mean, well, they can't control the quality of your grass, but
you need to seed and fertilizer and aerate, because this situation ain't working. We're gonna kick you out. You're gonna get fined for your shitty lawn.
Maybe some places they can, but there's a lot of social pressure.
Oh, we could do a whole topic on grass and social pressure to have the perfect lawn. I mean, that's stems back to
huge.
Americans in the
1950s
to have those perfect manicured lawns, and it's just still a thing.
It is so much a thing. In fact, I was at a house, a very nice house with beautiful landscaping out front. The lawn looked good. There was literally a handful of weeds along the border by the sidewalk and a few in the yard, and they were looking at this house to buy, and one of the people commented like, oh, well, you can tell they haven't done anything with the lawn. And I was just like, oh my God,
What is your lawn
please don't
look
come
like?
to my house.
You don't have a lawn.
Would you like to spend some time with my crabgrass?
Oh, crabgrass, don't even get me started. Oh, we are so off topic.
Okay,
so there you go.
Summer, let's go to summer pollinators.
Summer stars. I'm going to read through them and then we'll go back and touch on them. So summer is definitely the pollinator party season. They are humming around, getting all the goods, raising their little bee hands in the air.
Yeah.
So we've got zinnias, cosmos, oregano, basil, mint, bee balm, sunflowers, celosia, and wildflower fields. That was a lot.
It is a lot.
So let's go back to the beginning. Zinnias are terrific and
So easy to grow.
oh man, I'll do an episode on zinnias.
Yes, please.
They really are so easy. Butterflies love them. Bees, I know we've been talking a lot about bees, but the butterflies too love them, and hoverflies also adore them. Can you describe what a hoverfly looks like?
Why would you ask me that? I'm not an entomologist. No, they're tiny. They're really, really
they're
tiny.
the little tiny little things that you
Little
see
teeny
zipping around.
tiny,
Yes,
little
okay.
tiny.
I'm going to be more intentional about observing insects this year. You know, what likes what and
Yeah, I have an app on my phone that I scan the insects before I
squash them.
as we talk about pollinators. But yes,
I couldn't help
because
it. I'm sorry.
no, but because in the vegetable garden especially, I'll see something and usually I know like, okay, this is a squash bug or this is a flea beetle or whatever. But like last year, those leafhoppers, I had never seen those before, ever at any of my gardens. So I scanned it. Or if I see certain caterpillars, I just want to know which kind it is.
Yes.
And so, yeah, when I'm out in the cut flower gardens last year, I was doing a lot of scanning to kind of see what things I had. I definitely let some things live that could do some damage.
Are you going to eat my shit or not? I want to know.
Yeah. I just want to know how bad it's going to be. If you're listening to this list, you probably noticed we intentionally put in, well, you may not know we intentionally did it, but we did put in herbs because every garden should have herbs. They're so good for so many reasons, and they are a great source of pollen. You can cook with them. They're easy to have out there, even if you just have a pot. When basil and mint go to bloom later in the season, they send up some really beautiful flowers. If you can leave at least a couple plants with some of those flowers, that's really good.
Yeah, and something else to add to here, but I'm leaving all of my like kale and arugula, it's bolted. I'm leaving it because they do have some stuff right now, but we're not to summer yet. So I feel like leaving it for them leaves them a little while we wait. I want to keep them around.
Absolutely. Well, if you don't have anything to fill in that space anyways just yet, then why not?
And
they are pretty.
Bringing them in bouquets.
I actually put in my Easter bouquet this year and last year some of my flowers from the kale.
Yeah.
Kale and collards. They're a pretty little yellow flower.
Yeah.
They're just kind of whimsical.
Yeah, I thought about putting arugula seeds on the hillside garden because those little white flowers are so pretty.
Oh, they are. Yeah. I've got a few going right now.
Okay, so cosmos, beautiful, airy, floating around there, pollinator magnets. They support the pollinators. Oregano, when does that bloom?
I think it's mid to late summer. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so oregano is a good one. And basil.
That's late summer for sure.
Absolutely. There's two parts here. When you do let your basil flower, it doesn't produce as much leaves. The basil leaves for using, you really want to keep pinching your basil down so it continues to grow leaves. When you do let it go to flower, you can still use the leaves, maybe leave some that you continue to pinch and then, let one or two flower.
Yeah, the other thing about letting them flower too is they're flowering so they can create seed.
Yeah.
So you should let a few go to flower anyways, just so that you can get more seed for the following year. I'll tell you what's really pretty is holy basil.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, last year I had all this extra holy basil and I put it kind of in this new border area that I was making. I just needed to fill in some stuff. I was like, I'm just going to throw this in here. And I didn't water it. It was behind some other things. It went nuts. It has purple blooms, if I'm remembering correctly.
Ooh.
And it's a
Oh,
different
okay.
leaf, so it was really lovely and also great for making tea. We're going to grow it again this year. Started it from seed. It comes up very nicely from seed. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that is going to be very cool.
I actually
Bee balm.
started a bunch of bee balm from seed. It can be a little harder to start bee balm from seed. It took a little bit of stratification on that one, but they really, really love it. You can buy it, and they're making more varieties. I'm just buying the old school spotted Monarda that's more of like a native variety, but it has a really beautiful spotty pink flower on it.
That's so pretty. Speaking of native plants, if you are in the local East Tennessee area, there
Yes.
is a wonderful native plant nursery. It is called Miller's Cove Native Plants.
Yes.
And Millie is the owner, and she has such an amazing selection of native plants. That's what she grows exclusively. We got a lot of native plants from her, and we'll continue to get more native plants.
Yes, we must have her on here.
Yeah, we will.
I'm excited because she has a native plant specifically I'm trying to grow from seed, and I don't know that it's going to work. It's called Culver's root, and I think it's fantastic. Again, I saw it in the UK, and they use it quite a bit over there, so I'm very hopeful. It looks like a candelabra. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of native plants. I think having a great resource to get them from makes a difference.
Absolutely. Very good quality, too. I'm excited to get them in the ground.
Lots of summer stuff. Sunflowers, of course. Celosia last year. I had Laurette's sponge sugar celosia out in the garden, and the little bees would take little naps in it.
No.
And like creep up inside the little pluffy things, and like their little bums would be hanging out. It was and they would sleep in there at night and come out in the morning, and like there was like 5 or 6 bees in one clump.
Oh
It's
my
It's
God.
their little house.
That is adorable. That is so sweet.
I know. So I had to add that on
yeah.
here because I was like, they
Yeah.
really loved it last year.
And you know, dahlias aren't on this list. We didn't mention it, but don't get me wrong. I have purchased and love the very big fluffy dahlias. I mean, come on, like the dinner plates and all those. Just, they're gorgeous. But when you grow dahlias from seed, you get those singles that have those nice, rich pollen centers. And that's a lot easier for the bees to get into. So many of the ones that I grew from seed last year, the bees were on them like crazy. And because they bloom for such a long time, it's a really good source of nectar going into fall, which is the next part on here.
That's good stuff right there.
Yes.
So they could kind of, they're a little,
Summer, fall.
a little blendy.
Yeah, they're a little blendy summer, fall. The next one is fall bloomers. This is later in the season. I will say that I am really getting into creating this kind of late summer, heavy fall garden area near the oak tree. And it's exciting to really plan for that time of year. My inclination anyways is I have automatically started planting beds that are good in spring and early summer. And yeah, I have some things that go into fall like the dahlias. And so this list is great. We've got asters, Japanese anemone, which I'm obsessed with this plant. I love it so much. Sedums. I mean, autumn joy is a classic, but there's other sedums out there. Joe Pye weed, which I haven't grown. I don't know if you've grown it or not.
I haven't.
And then I would put dahlias in there as well. And just so you know, the salvias will still be around then as well. Give them a good trim after their first bloom. Same thing with the catmint. We're going to do a little bit of the hack.
Cut your catmint.
Yeah, we're going to hack them back, and then they're going to come back around. And another thing that will have pollen if you get a group 3 is the clematis. I'm looking at the clematis right now. That we've got a few of them. And there's a group 1, 2, and 3. So basically those will start blooming from the beginning of the year in group 1. Group 2 is the middle, and then group 3. So this would be a group 1.
Yeah.
So you could use that as one that goes throughout the year too. There's more stuff that's going to bloom that time of year that we're not even mentioning. But those are some that are
like big ones.
Yeah, they're the big ones, the easy ones to get, the ones that a lot of people know about. I think that you could easily source and put in your garden and grow as well. And frankly, those cosmos, I know everybody says they're a summer bloomer. I had them until October last year.
They were. I saw them.
Yep. So zinnias, dahlias, and cosmos were going all the way until October.
I saw something really cool. A grower, and I don't know her name off the top of my head, but it was a grower in Australia. And what she would do is Her cosmos would be blooming, etc. And she would take off a couple of stems from them and then put them right into the ground and have a second succession of cosmos. Yeah,
No.
yeah, we're gonna do that. But she would cut all the blooms off, and so that one would be done, but she'd have another one coming up. I mean, you could also succession sow for this, but I thought that was very interesting, like in-ground propagation of the plants.
That is fascinating.
I know.
It's fascinating to me that someone's just like plopping it in the dirt right next to it.
I've seen people do that with willows. I mean, we don't have a lot of willow as readily available here as they do.
Yes.
Like in the UK, I mean, they just have so much willow. I'm very jealous.
I've seen that with something else recently too. I can't remember.
They put it right in the ground next to it and they just continue to grow.
I wish hydrangeas would do that.
I know. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, let's go to winter bloomers.
Winter, it's scarce out there, but we do have some stuff that they can receive nectar and pollen from. On here we have snowdrops, witch hazel, hellebores, and
Camellias.
camellias. Yes, I forgot about camellias. That's a great, I don't have any, but I want to get
I
some.
love them. This is another plant that for some reason I just have really bad skill in growing, and it just shouldn't be that hard. I have one camellia that I planted at my old house that grew, and it's huge. I mean, I just nailed it. I got it the right place, the right light, the right water. I do want to have more of them here. I'm still trying to figure out where the best place is going to be, but depending on which cultivar you plant, camellias will start blooming in the fall, go through the winter, and then there's some early spring ones as well. So you could have them in multiple seasons. And I think that they are absolutely beautiful.
They are beautiful. And I would really love to do in front of my compost bays because it's not full sun there. They get kind of filtered, and I think that they do okay in lower light levels.
They do.
Yeah.
They like filtered sunlight. And protection from heavy winds, that's another thing. I'm cautious in saying this, but it is a winter pollen source, is ivy. English ivy, it's evergreen. The thing about ivy is that for the most part, people don't manage it well.
Yeah.
And it grows on runners, so it's really hard to eradicate. And it breaks my heart.
In Ireland, there was ivy everywhere.
But they manage it really well.
Yeah.
They know how to manage it. So here, it just grows rampant. It gets in the gutters. As much as I would love to put some on this one side of my house, I'm like, do I want to manage it the way that it needs to be managed? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. But ivy's a good little thing out there for them.
Snowdrops are great because they're at the very beginning of the year. There's not a ton of pollen there, but it's good for the waking bees when they're coming up, like January.
I do want to say about the hellebores on our winter list, they bloom for such a long time. Shannon has a massive amount of hellebores when you come up into her property, and I was amazed at how long they were blooming for.
Yes.
I think they're
still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what?
They started in early March, and it's the end of April as we're recording
Such a
this.
long stint.
Yes.
They were great.
They truly bloom a really long time, and what's nice is they start making seed pods at the end of their life. That's a great time to cut them as well because the pollinators have already gotten them. Anyways, this is a good solid list. Whether you're planting into a pot, or you have a large garden or medium garden or a small garden, you can incorporate all of these.
Absolutely.
They're easy to access. A lot of them are super easy to grow from seed, so you don't even have to buy the plant if you want to be budget friendly. Pollinators will love these. There's other things that might be a little more unique we could throw on here at some point.
Yeah.
So
let's feed the bees
Yeah,
and the
and
butterflies and the hummingbirds
and the wasps and the hoverflies and all the things. We need all the things.
That's right. They make the world go round. So
They do.
hopefully you can add some goodies to your garden.
Yeah. If you want your vegetables to grow successfully, you definitely want to add some goodies to your garden.
Absolutely.
So
Get all the goodies.
that's right. They eat, we eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Okay, let's go get dirty.
Let's go grow, baby.
Thanks for listening to Fostering Blooms. If this episode inspired you, send it to a friend who's ready to ditch bland grocery store radishes and get spicy in the garden with us. We'd love it if you left us a 5-star review. That helps other people like you find our podcast. And don't forget to tag us on Instagram when your blooms show off. Until next time, let's go grow, baby.